Started. Welcome back to the next episode of Keeping You Connected. I'm Alicia. We have Bryce and Nathan from the Access Networks teams. What's up, guys?
How you doing?
Good. How y'all been? Yeah. I'm going to actually let you introduce yourselves this time again because we've skipped that a couple of kimes. So go ahead, Bryce. Kick it off.
Bryce Nordstrand with Access Networks, Chief Sales Officer. Just looking forward to having this conversation with our friend Roman. So.
Nathan Holmes, Director of Training and Development at Access Networks, and also looking forward to spending a little bit of time grilling Roman for a little while.
Yes, this is awesome because we only get to spend time with Roman at like CDO when he's in the booth with us. So now we get to have a bit of a different environment and have some fun and spread some knowledge as well. So Roman, how you been, man? It's been a long time no see.
Yeah, it has. I think last time we hung out was at City in September. So nice to virtually hang out again.
Good. Well, thanks for joining us. And before we get into all the questions, let's start with who you are and what is Sophos?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Roman. As you mentioned, I'm the Channel Account Executive for the Los Angeles and Central California region. So I take care of all the MSP, reseller, and end user business for the territory. And as far as what Sophos is, I can definitely answer that, or I hope I can. So we're a global leader in IT network security or next-gen IT security. And today we protect, I think, close to 400,000 organizations globally across 150 countries from some of the more sophisticated and advanced threats that we keep hearing about in the news. And we're cloud native. We have AI-enhanced solutions for our endpoint, which we consider, mobile device management, servers, laptops, desktops, and then also for the network side of the business. So, in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Sweet. Hey Nathan, I wanted to ask you a question because on all of our Keeping You Connected that you've been on, you always, and when I talk to you personally, you refer to your time as an integrator, hands-on in the field. Did you know about Sophos before we partnered, Access Networks and Sophos partnered together?
Actually, I was one of the people that suggested Sophos as we were looking for a next generation firewall solution. We were looking to evolve and increase our ability to not only provide the same level of service we have been on a firewall perspective, but be able to add in next gen firewall solutions and evolve this into real security that's subscription based and can evolve and grow with you. And Sophos was one of the names that kept popping up when I was doing my research as a leader and somebody that we should evaluate. And luckily it worked out.
So yeah, what's funny about that conversation or that whole thing is Nathan and I were working in the Encino office when we still had the Encino office. It was just after Nathan started, and we were looking at firewall solutions. Just is there something else out there that we were missing? And this was part of why Nathan was brought into the company, to look at, products and solutions that we weren't necessarily maybe paying attention to or needed to pay attention to. And he and I both looked at Sophos and we were like, this stuff's great. We really, and then we gave it internally to some of the engineers and it got shot down like, like they were, shooting clay pigeons or something. And so we were just like, oh, okay. So we moved on. And then like a year and a half later, I guess, when they started doing really deep testing into like Palo Alto and all these different solutions, we landed back on Sophos. Nathan and I think, had a chat about that later. We were like, wish we would have, maybe somebody would have listened a little earlier. Yeah. And then Nathan,
it was kind of like, wow, we did good. Okay, next time maybe we needed to do a better job of presenting because somehow somebody didn't get thought, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah, it was our fault. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm glad it came full circle. It's easier to sell our solutions now. I wasn't here when we were doing like Unity and Foundation systems, but a lot of people are just calling in like, what is Sophos? How do we get our hands on Sophos? So I'm glad that this is a partnership now, and I'm interested to learn a lot more about our conversation today. So Roman, I'm gonna bring it back to you because you're gonna kick us off with this. So what's the difference between cybersecurity and Infosec?
Yeah, so definitely a good question. There's a lot of similarities, and those terms are kind of used interchangeably. But the way we look at it is cybersecurity is protecting, the cyber realm and the data that goes along with it. Whereas information security is more focused on the actual, the information, the data, the confidentiality aspect, the availability, and the integrity of the file. So a good way to look at this is you need to be able to protect your users from, and your network from outside intrusions and from people getting in, from the hackers stealing your information. But on the inside of the network, you also need to have some sort of policies and some controls to see, well, who's going to access that information? Are they authorized? Is that data encrypted, or is it encrypted in transit or in motion? So information security specifically on that side of the house, whereas cybersecurity is more holistically protecting the network and utilizing the corresponding technologies. So things like firewalls and authentication, mobile device management, and so on. So.
And these are hot topics going on. Like if you type this in Google, or like start to type it in Google, it's automatically popping up. I think people are looking into this information now more than ever, especially with working from home and their children, having, parental advisories. All this thing is playing into the security of our networks. So Nathan, as a, a technical trainer, as your point of view, how are you leading the conversation when it comes to this and what we do together with Sophos and your daily activity?
We, as of 2 weeks ago, as I continue to do different research and talk to different people and watch things, during this particular event that we're dealing with, this pandemic where everybody's working from home, cybersecurity attacks, especially phishing attacks, were up 667%. So you have, hackers and everybody they're geared towards attacking people when they're most vulnerable. When are we most vulnerable? When we're making panic decisions and we're having to rapidly make all these changes, and we've got all these different, life influences around us. When you're at your office, you're at your desk, you're focused. When you're at home, you might have pets, kids, family around you, and you don't necessarily have the same focus to the details that you're doing. And we as a company have been blessed enough that, over the, course of our company, we've always been focused on being able to work remote and handle remote access and be able to troubleshoot remotely and focus on it in the way that currently everybody else has done. So I've had a lot of industry people come to me talking about things, and it really brings us back to just using the right products, the right designs, and starting from there. And since we've already had that, our customers have had this, sense of security, and it allows us to kind of then, I've been talking to people about just slowing down, think before you click, do these kind of things where you refocus because you're in a different environment, and just you have to keep your mind still focused on where it was to protect yourself.
The know before kind of the tutorials that I took when I first joined this company, and they're still active to this day. We're constantly going and reminding ourselves, think before you click, scan your emails, things like that. It's so important, especially now.
The weakest link in any security chain is the human being. The Sophos firewall is great. The other things we put into effect for cybersecurity, it could be the endpoint protection, it could be all these things, but all of that can be superseded by a human being clicking on something they shouldn't and do different things. So that's the other thing I've talked about is education during this time is so critical to help build your customers' trust in you by helping them during a time where they might not be thinking about it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that we have as somebody who delivers solutions to a specific group of businesses, a B2B relationship. One of the biggest challenges for us is exactly what the difference that Roman described earlier, and actually, educating people on how to do that is how to decipher between what is just the digital side of this and then what is the human intervention side of this. And we can provide a world-class solution for an integration company or for their clients. But ultimately, if we don't educate the integrator to educate their client on what happens if they click on an email that says they need to send their banking information to their to the CFO because they need it, and it's not actually their CFO answering or asking for that information. That kind of thing has happened in our industry. It happens all the time outside of our industry. And so the education side of this is extremely important. And we look to leaders in the channel like Sophos to kind of help us along with that. We use KnowBefore. Sophos has a bunch of solutions on the education side as well that we really start to focus in on it and share that content through Nathan and his team and any other ways we can do it with the integration companies, and make sure that we're all working from the same concepts.
And Bryce, this is a question that I had for you, because you don't necessarily want to sell with fear, right? We can educate the integrator, but as an integrator, you don't want to go in and sell these products because your end user is fearful, right? So like, how do you properly sell these type of security systems and make it beneficial without being in a panic?
Well, so I think there's a difference between creating fear and exposing fear. So creating fear means I'm going in and I'm just hammering you on the fact that this is going to happen to you, right? And I'm creating this environment where you're suddenly scared. Where exposing it means that I'm saying this could happen, and these are the things that we can do to make sure that you're protected in case those things do happen. They're very different conversations, and they come from very different places when you're having that conversation, and they generate very different reactions. So what we do when we're talking to integration companies and even to end users when we get called into those conversations is we talk about what is possible. Not saying, hey, this is going to happen to you and you need to buy this, otherwise it's going to happen to you sooner than later. You know, we don't say those kind of things. What we say is, these are the kind of threats that are out there, and these are the things that you need to be aware of, and these are the things that we have in place to solve those problems. And when we do that, you know, a lot of times people who can connect the dots and see what's in front of them, they will make that connection, and they will. It's the same thing with selling security cameras, right? If you're out there walking a site and you say, okay, well, there's a corner in the fence over here that somebody can crawl through, we should put a camera on that so that, you know, if somebody decides to crawl through that, you get them on camera. You're not saying somebody's coming through your fence and they're gonna get you. You know, what we're saying is we need to make sure that we see that angle so that if somebody does come through that, we can capture them on camera. So they're different conversations, and I think that's, you know, relaying that information effectively to the integrator and then having them in turn relay that directly to the end user is the hard part of our job. To making sure that we're telling them how to expose that, and then they're not just going and hammering somebody with fear.
Right. And Roman, you want to piggyback on that? Like, how are you educating the masses on things like this when it comes to the security side of the business?
Yeah. So definitely a lot with, you know, I agree with everything that Bryce is saying, but, you know, given the market that we're in security, you never want to be fear mongering, as you mentioned. So we always position, you know, and we're very factual with our customers, right? We want to explain to them what we're seeing in the threat landscape, how the threats are evolving, educate them on that piece, and then provide them a holistic security portfolio that addresses some of these specific needs. And I think by outlining it in that process and in that method, you know, you're not necessarily trying to push anything, and you're not trying to scare the customer. You're just showing them, you know, this is the lay of the land. This is what reality looks like. And let me add some value by offering these solutions that we know can protect your environment, you know, the best of its abilities. So that's the approach that we try to take.
Yeah, it's not really creating fear. It's acknowledging scary things and providing solutions to protect yourself from them.
Right.
Yeah,
well, let's
absolutely.
circle back to how this partnership grew into what it is today. So you guys brought it to the engineering team, shot down, and then year comes back around and a light bulb goes off. But how did this actually become as a whole? I mean, when I joined the team, we were just getting started. Roman was at our parties at CEDIA, and then we were really flourishing into what we are now today. But where did we start once engineering was like, yeah, we're on board with this?
So talking about the party, I actually have video of Roman and one of our director of engineering in one of those carts down in San Diego, like obviously having a very good evening.
Best video of CEDIA for sure, but yeah, that was awesome time.
It was lots of fun, yes.
Yeah, I think from our side, as far as the partnership's concerned, you know, we do very thorough testing, and a lot of it starts with Brett, our CTO, and he goes through the products in and out of them, and also looks into how they're going to fit within our architecture, meaning provisioning, you know, doing all the things that we do from a support perspective. And so we're in that sense, a major shift for us, like firewall, was like about a 1.5 year long process. It was not a, hey, let's take a look at this product, and you know, the way Nathan and I would have done it, like, hey, this looks great, let's go. So that's not the way it was for us. You know, it took a long time. I think, you know, there's probably some conversations where Roman was probably thinking to himself, "You better S or get off the pot, dude," because like we're coming up on it here. So maybe he's still thinking that, I don't know. But regardless, that's kind of how it went down from us. It was, we take a long time to make this kind of very structured decision. And once we make that decision, that we go in like full bore, like we fully commit and we look at every possible solution that they have to offer us. And Roman can give you his color commentary on how this all went down if he wants to.
Up in there, Roman. I need to know.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I had something to do with it, but I guess it's all you guys. But no, I mean, it's one day we got a phone call and an email from the team, and they mentioned that they were interested in evaluating our firewall solution, and that they were testing a few other vendors, and I think that's kind of where things took off. We scheduled some additional demos and did some proof of concepts, and had our engineering team work with Bryce and Roy and all the great teammates at Access Networks, and we are where we are today. So from my perspective, that's kind of how it unfolded. And I definitely agree with Bryce. Like, anytime you're evaluating, especially something as critical as a firewall to a network, and you have to do your due diligence, and sometimes the process can take 12 months, it can take 18 months, it can take much quicker as well, but overall you got to do the right things to ensure that you're getting the right technology, you're supporting your customers, you've got the processes nailed down, and I'm glad we are where we are today. So
yeah, one of the things that we don't want to do is, and Nathan can attest to this because he's been either involved with Access Networks for over 12 years. One of the things that we don't want to do is move to a product and then get to a situation on a phone call where we say, because I've heard other manufacturers say this, where they literally say, "Yeah, it'll do that." Like, we don't want to be in that position ever. So everything that we do in our process, in our designs and our deciding which products we're going to use is based on the fact that we want to get to an answer with no matter what the problem is.
Nathan, it looked like you wanted to hop in on that.
No, he's right. I mean, since, I have been working with Access from, an integrator level all the way through to when I joined the company. And one of the things I can say consistently all the way through is Access was very specific on how they would program, ship, deploy, and then support the system. And from an integrator, I was very terrified for that because, we're, half the time we're just shooting from the hip, making things happen, do all those things. And it felt kind of rigid at first. But then when we started looking at how well that made everything perform and how troubleshooting became so quick and so easy on every side of it, from the firewall switches to APs, that I realized how beneficial it was. And then joining the team, you realize that is why it takes us time to make these far-reaching decisions, because we'll evaluate. Then once we evaluate, then we come up with a configuration that's going to work. But then we have to take that and put it into a production-based deployment scenario on how we work. And so there's some steps in it. And once we do, all of a sudden, like Roman is saying, we go from trickle to, whoa, there you go, let's go. We got a whole bunch going through, but yet our support remains consistent all the way through because we know what we're doing. Everything is already vetted by the time it's reaching the customer. So when we face issues, which you're going to face issues on everything, it happens, there's things out there, but it allows us to troubleshoot things very rapidly. And having Sophos as a partner allows us to not only just troubleshoot it, but get to direct resolutions on things to track down what the core problem is and decide what the best course of action to fully rectify it is.
Right. And I get a lot of calls about this, on our client services line about Sophos. What's Sophos? How does it work? And I mean, Sophos is a new name to a lot of integrators, it seems like. But I'm going to direct this question back to you, Roman, because not only because of COVID going on right now, but in the daily before all this started, like, how does Sophos protect against threats? Like, what makes Sophos different?
Yeah, no, I can definitely speak to that. So before I answer that question, I mean, I definitely want to say, this relationship, it's coming to its fruition. And at Sophos, from our perspective, we've never been more excited. And I think what we're bringing to the table is, the unique service and everything that Access Networks is about And now we're pairing an enterprise-grade next-gen firewall to go along with that into a market that has traditionally, been served by home use solutions or products designed for much smaller and simpler networks, if you will. So from our perspective, we feel that the threat landscape is changing rapidly, right? Like you're saying, right? And the threats are evolving, and it's, I don't want to say it's a scary place to be, but the adversaries, they're trying to go after everyone and everything that they can get leverage on, and that leverage is in the form of data. So I think it's never been more important to secure, obviously an enterprise network and the corporate space, but it's never been more important to secure those digital assets in the home network as well. And, given the space that we're in, unfortunately, there's a lot of individuals and organizations that don't really, understand or have knowledge on the right technology and the right solutions to stop some of these advanced threats like ransomware and, exploits, data exfiltration. So I think for our channel, and when I say our channel, we can refer to that as the home integrators, there's two really good opportunities. Number one, you have the opportunity to improve your customer security posture and give them state-of-the-art technology. And number two, you all of a sudden have the ability to grow your cybersecurity revenue stream and offer that incremental value to the customer. So I think for that reason, we're extremely excited, because all of a sudden now you have the ability to have enterprise-grade technology in that home automation space. And as far as your second question, how does Sophos protect against, all the threats that we're seeing out there? I want to start off by saying we wouldn't be, a Gartner leader or a Forrester Wave leader, NSS Lab leader, growing 3x the market rate in the firewall space, 2x the market rate on the endpoint space without our labs infrastructure team, right? Our threat research facilities, they're really the backbone to our organization, and the reason we're successful is because of all the work that they do. And today we have 4 labs around the world. We have 1 lab in Vancouver, Canada, which is where I'm from. We've got a Canadian on the line. We have a lab in Australia, the UK, and in Budapest. And within each lab, they're cross-functional labs. So what that means is we have threat researchers looking for web-borne malware, endpoint-borne malware. We have, we're analyzing emails and URLs and using big data analytics to gather as much information about the threat landscape so that we can push out information to all of our customers and updates to all of our customers in real world. And that's, why our technology and our solutions are so effective. And then when you look at our portfolio and what Sophos tries to bring to the market, we're looking at everything from a holistic perspective, right? How do we offer technology that's designed to work together, that's integrated, that has the ability to share data across the entire solution stack, correlate that data, and then act as a system to stop some of the more sophisticated threats that are out there? And I think for years, the approach has been, well, let me get one vendor for the firewall or one vendor for endpoint, one vendor for email, and have these siloed approaches, which, I think given where the threat landscape is today, that strategy is no longer effective, because it's important that all the products have wider context into what's happening in the network infrastructure and can act in, synchronicity and have visibility into what each solution is doing. And that's, I think, the reason we're successful, and that's what we're bringing to the table, and that's how we're stopping some of these advanced threats that we keep hearing about. So, really long answer. So,
no, a lot of good points there.
Yeah.
A lot of good points there, and I think Bryce, he was giving the look of like he was right there with you on, piggybacking on the thoughts of exactly what you were saying. Bryce, do you have anything to add on top of that?
Yeah, wasn't Synchronicity like a really good album from the Police or somebody? I don't remember who it was from.
It was, but you know what? I love that word. It actually did just fit perfectly.
Right. I mean, so actually, what I'm listening, when I'm listening to Roman talk, and I know where we've been. So we were in those silos, and we're moving out of them slowly as we do, as Access Networks is, as far as that goes. And Roy, our director of IT, has been a big part of that. But we were in these silos where we have firewall, and then we have email, and then we have somebody else doing threat prevention. So we've been in these different silos, and we are moving to the holistic solution with Sophos. We are getting there. It is a process when you're a company of our size, and I would imagine it'd be a much bigger process when you're a company of a larger size. But so these are the kind of things that we look at, and it's the same thing that we again talk with integration companies about. On a residential application, utilizing the services across the board from Sophos as we become more and more familiar with these solutions, we will bring more and more of those solutions to market to the residential channel. One of the big things we're looking at as the next kind of big thing that we do is the endpoint security side of things. Sophos is now doing the email side of things as well. So we're looking at bringing those products to both the integration for their businesses and for the residential applications. So, but what we've always done is trying to take all of the things, because if you look at Sophos's their line sheet for products, and that was good. If I took that and just duplicated it and handed it to an integrator, they would look at me like I'm freaking nuts, because it's like some of the speaker companies out there that have never stopped producing a speaker that they made in 1973, and they still have the same speaker on their line card, and they're like, hey, you can still buy this thing because we still have some. That's what we try and make sure that we don't do on the network side, because it's a lot to comprehend, which is why you have specialists, right? You have specialists in network design, you have specialists in security, you have specialists in creating the configurations, you have specialists in support, and you have specialists on the security side. There's multiple specialties on the security side of things. And one of our big initiatives within the Access Networks this year, and with Sophos's help, is to create that team of people that towards the end of the year, we will start to bring these additional services, and that team of people will be there to support primarily from a security perspective. That's going to be their job, is supporting both the integration companies and their residential end users from a security perspective.
Future is bright.
Yep, absolutely.
Nathan, you have anything to piggyback?
No, I think Bryce hit it on the head, and it's just kind of reinforcing what Bryce and Roman said. One of the things that I talk about in CD Tech Council and other things that I'm involved in is when you're looking at information security and cybersecurity, this whole concept, you have multiple fronts you need to take. Your integration business has to approach it as a holistic approach for employees and your corporate data and your corporate network and your corporate email and all those things. But then you also have to take into mind the networks that you're installing into your customers' homes and educating them on how to properly use their devices, how to protect themselves, how to do that. And then the third avenue of which is you have employees that are in and out of the customers' homes, and making sure you adequately address your Infosec security concerns on those areas. And so I think you need to look at all three areas. And we had Access with the Infosec audits that we've done and will do for companies. We've helped them manage and understand their risks and decide, what they want to mitigate, how they want to do it. And Sophos has been an integral portion of that, because it does provide a holistic approach. So not only can we help them identify areas of concern, but come up with solutions and then start to develop how they do everything long-term. Because I think that's the big thing people don't necessarily get with cybersecurity, is that it's a lifetime process. It's an evolving and growing process that has to continually involve education, evaluation, risk assessment, because your business changes over time, your clients change over time, and frankly, the threat landscape changes over time. So you need to actively be involved in evaluating and educating yourself to stay in front of this and make sure you maximize your ability to protect yourself and your clients.
Agreed. The threats are always changing. Everything's always changing so fast in technology. And that's kind of what I love about our industry. Everything is always changing, and we're constantly always having to be on our toes and, stay ahead of the curve and learn as much as we can. That's the joy of this business. So you hit it on the head with that one, Nathan, too. So guys, you know how we do. Before we wrap it up, anybody else have anything else to add? I've got a really good, fun game here for you guys.
Okay, what's your game? Because I got a question for Roman, and actually for everybody on the call, but let's hear yours first.
Okay, so everybody's been going crazy about, not being able to go to the grocery store and hang out with the Girl Scouts, get their Girl Scout cookies, right? Me included. I usually buy a ton of Girl Scout cookies. Anyways, so there's this thing going around the internet, if you could be quarantine in your home. You absolutely cannot go out. There's 5 things on this list, but you can only pick 3. We're going to start with Roman. If you were trapped in your house, we can't go out, official lockdown. 5 things, you can only choose 3. Girl Scout cookies, your children, alcohol, Wi-Fi, or groceries of some sort.
So I would choose the children, number 1.
Okay.
I would choose Wi-Fi, and I like to wind down by having a nice glass of wine. So I'd probably choose a nice bottle of wine.
Yeah.
So no food for the kids, but plenty of wine.
No, plenty of wine.
Well, so if they have Wi-Fi, can they order on Uber Eats? Can they get their food that way?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, there you go. Smart.
I have no kids, so easily I get to go, at least I live at home, so I automatically get, to choose something else.
And you don't drink, so there you go. You've got your 3 already.
Well, it's pretty funny to see how many people don't choose their kids. It's going crazy with their kids.
Yeah, I was thinking about that one, right? What's the proper answer?
What's politically correct here? What's yours, Alicia?
Mine is, I don't have any children, so mine is definitely alcohol, Wi-Fi, and groceries. I guess I would do without the Girl Scout cookies because
Depends which Girl Scout cookies, though. I mean, the reality is there's some that are so amazing that you just feel like if you could have 100 boxes, you'd still eat them in one day. And then there's others you're like, yeah, I'll give them out to guests when they arrive.
Right, Thin Mints.
Or the ones that they just end up half eaten in the cabinet for 6 months until the next round of Girl Scout cookies.
Until the kids come home.
I'm on the Roman bus. I would pick the same 3 and just tell the kids to order online.
Order online. We need booze.
Yeah.
I guess it's clear what Nathan would do. Kids and alcohol are out, so.
Yeah.
You got it. I got groceries, cookies, and Wi-Fi. This is awesome.
That's Nathan's life every day. All right. I think we're good. We think we hit our time. And what do you think? What do you think, Alicia?
What was your thing, Bryce? You said
what was my thing? You want to go through that thing? So my thing is, and everybody can answer this too. So when this whole thing is over, what restaurant are you going to first? Roman, you want to throw something out there?
So this is a hard one because there's 2. The first one being a place actually Hagai and Brett took myself and my director Brian Galgano to Republic. I think that's what it's called. It was just incredible. The service, the food, the whole experience. And then the other place is I can't wait to go back to Crossroads Kitchen. It's a spot on Melrose. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, where it's all vegan food. They don't advertise it as vegan food. So, the first time I arrived there, I had no idea until I sat down and they explained the menu. And the food is incredible. It is just so tasty. The pastas, the meatballs, it tastes like the real thing. You can't tell the difference. And that'll keep my wife happy. So she's a vegetarian. So
there you go.
It's a win-win.
Yeah. Nathan?
Yeah.
That's a difficult one because I'm not usually somebody that cares the specific restaurant. It's rare that something really pops up there. It's more of being able to just go out and try something I haven't had for a while and make it elaborate because frankly, the people I've got living here are really good cooks. And so it's hard to top a lot of the things.
Is this your staff or family? Because the way you said it, it was like they're your staff, the people I have living here.
So I have a number of people living here, and it's a choice. But one of the things that happens on that is we have lots of people cooking at different times, and it's not staff, but we get some great meals. So I'm kind of blessed with that. So I'm actually not necessarily needing to go out to a good restaurant.
Yeah, I was going to have to relook at your compensation package if you had staff. Or maybe that move to Nashville was well worth it. One of the 2. All right, Alicia.
I thought that was sorry.
What was
I was going to say I thought that was a very subtle explainer brag. The people that are living here, including his wife and himself, right?
No,
so that's where my head was at.
when you have dear friends and different people in life and everybody faces different struggles and all of a sudden life come down in a really bad way and you have an option to open up little portions of your house and give people a chance to get back on their feet and go back to where, you know, life isn't such a struggle, we're giving back to some people. And so out of it, we have a great experience where they're here with us during a time when things would be really bad for them and they're not having to be, you know, where they would be. And so I'm blessed now to have the flip side, which has some people cooking and helping out around here, which is good.
Good for you.
No, I in no way can afford staff.
That's beautiful. That's awesome.
Alicia?
I'm pretty simple. Once we get out of this, I'm going Outback. Or if I could choose anything, I would get on a plane and go back to Colombia and just go to that ranch we were at. That food was amazing. Some of the best food I ever had. So, I mean, I guess between Outback and Colombia, Outback it'll be.
What's your Outback meal of choice?
Outback meal of choice. I usually go for the lobster tail with the 8-ounce steak. I'm good to go.
So I will tell you, there's one restaurant that does come to mind in all of this. It is Larson's in Encino. They have got the best lobster bisque I've ever had and great steaks, great atmosphere. We used to do our anniversary every year at that place in Encino, and that place is amazing.
I
That's
keep
a little
hearing
bit of a
about
drive for you, though.
bisque.
It is.
Brett always talks about that lobster bisque.
All right, I
Yes.
guess we're good to go then. So,
All right, well, let's close this out. Roman,
Wait.
where can the people find you?
Where can people find me?
Yes.
First name dot last name at sofos.com. So roman.rida at sofos.com is the best way to reach me, or via Access Networks. Yeah,
we got his home number and his address, so we're good.
Yeah,
For a
my
good
social
time.
security number is this.
So Nathan noticed actually that I escaped the restaurant question. So
Yeah.
yeah. So just so you know, I get email blasts every day from Mastro's Steakhouse, and I've actually shared this with the team a couple times, and it's freaking killing me because they're doing takeout, but it's like an hour away, so it's not going to be good by the time I get there. So thought about getting in the RV and going down and doing a takeout into the RV because I'm still social distancing at that point, but probably end up at Mastro's when this is all over. So
Dude,
yeah,
Mastro's is so good. I also love that place.
So, yeah, I'm Bryce. You can reach me at Access Networks, Bryce at accessnetworks.com, or my team, client services at accessnetworks.com.
I'm Nathan.Holmes at accessnetworks.com, or again, client services will also reach me as well.
And I'm Alicia Henley. You can reach me at alicia.henley at accessnetworks.com. And the absolute best way to get us all is client services at accessnetworks.com. We'll talk to y'all later.
Thanks, Roman. Greatly appreciate your time here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
Good seeing you, my friend.